Hi guys, I'm Chormy, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll show you how to make beat for Kick Out by Travis Scott and 21 Savage. This beat was made by T-, Odds and Sean Momberger. So let's start with the breakdown. We got two different beats. The first one is at 140 BPMs and is sampling this song from the Pixel Grip, Pursuit. The BPM of the sample is 124, so what I've done to stretch it is just right click on time, auto detect, type in BPM, and then I just put in 124. Then I pitch it up by 2 semitones, and this is pretty much the sample. As you can hear, we have a synth bass, an 808, some drums, a vocal, and then this noise synth. It could be also a guitar with an amp, I don't really know. As you can see, I've also tried to recreate it, just to show you the sound design and the music theory behind it. So this is my version of the sample. As you can hear, the synth bass, the 808 and the drums are pretty similar, but the vocals are obviously recorded on the original sample. And the noise synth is pretty much impossible to recreate. It could be everything, a synth, a guitar, or maybe a sample from a one shot. So we got this pretty simple Moog style bass. I'm using 2 saw waves with a little bit of unison and detune, sub, chorus, EQing and a filter. And I'm using the portamento with always mono and legato. I think they're using the E minor scale. It's not easy to tell what scale they're in, because they are starting on the 3 of the scale, then they're playing the 4, the 6 and the 2. This melody is giving like a kinda Phrygian feeling, because we have this G and the F sharp. Obviously we are not in the F sharp Phrygian scale, but this half tone relationship between G and F sharp is giving this ethnic kinda Phrygian feeling to the melody. Then for the vocal, I'm using a random choir from Omnisphere, and this is the melody that they're playing. And as you can see, they're playing a lot on this interval between the G and the F sharp to create more darkness in the melody. And then we got this tom sample. I'm just using a sine wave with some attack, pretty short envelope, so 108 dk, and I'm giving some punch using this envelope, controlling the pitch. Then I'm using this filter, EQing, a little bit of delay, and they're just playing this simple pattern. Then we have a simple 808, I'm using this waveform, a little bit of attack, filter, chorus, and distortion. This is the rhythm. And then for the noise synth, I'm using FM, a sine wave and a square wave, a lot of noise, distortion and filter. So this is the final result. So let's move on to the drums. Snare on the 3, hi-hat and a kick. So this is the snare, then we got hi-hats. We also have this open hat on the last bar, and then this simple kick. And as you can see, both beats are pretty much just looping the same drums and melody over and over. So they're just playing with some different elements to create variation. The first one is this lead. You can't really hear it, and I think it's pretty much just a classic saw lead. So I'm using a saw wave from the basic mini, and then I'm using a square wave with sync, and FM from B on the first oscillator. So as you can see, the volume for the second one is 0, and I'm just using this to modulate the first one. Then we have a little bit of noise, filter, distortion, flanger, and EQing. So without FM, it sounds like this. And the FM is just giving some more vibrato and metallic feeling to the lead. Mono, legato, and portamento on, and they're playing this melody. They're pretty much just playing around the same intervals, so we have B, G and F sharp. Then they're using an EQ to filter the sample, and I'm cutting around 900 Hz, and they're introducing a piano. In this case I'm using Labs, soft piano, and I'm also filtering a lot of the Ikes on this piano. As you can see, I'm cutting around 750 Hz. The melody for the piano is always playing around the same 2 intervals, so G, F sharp, then also E and D. So this is pretty much the whole beat. So let's move on to the second beat. The BPM is 170. In this case, I'm using 170.093. And the second beat is pretty much as simple as the first one. Just one synth and the drums looped over and over. So for the synth, I'm using Serum to recreate pretty much just a classic saw string type synth. I'm using 2 saw waves on 2 different octaves. Actually 3 saw waves because we also have the sub oscillator on a saw wave. A lot of unison and detune, noise. And as you can see, I'm using the bend on both waves. 100% modulation. Distortion, EQing. This is really important to cut all the highs and to boost a little bit of the mids around 4300 Hz. We also have this other filter, key tracked, and cutting a lot of the highs. And it's really important to have a slow attack on the envelope. In this case, I'm using 400 milliseconds. So this is pretty much the synth. I also have a little bit of modulation on the fine to give this detune, then a little more EQing, Saturn, chorus and reverb. The melody is pretty simple. We are in the C minor scale and they're just playing the 1, the 2 and the 3rd note of the scale. And they're playing on 2 different octaves to give more body to the melody. Let's move on to the drums, simple 2-step hi-hats. Snare on the 3. Rim shot. Counter snare. Kick. And then a simple 808 just following the same notes as the melody. Then we have some vocals and open hats coming in. And as you can see, this is pretty much the second beat. That's all for this video. Smash a like and subscribe if you liked it. I will leave all my links in the description if you want to support me. I have a Patreon page where I upload all the FLPs from my remakes, Instagram if you want to follow me, and BeatStars if you want to check out my beats or drum kits. Bye and see you in the next video.